Now I have something very, very, very important to say today, like every day, but today is now. And I trust you're going to stay with me, because you can't listen with your mind. You'll miss it. You won't be able to get it. You have to listen in your own experience. And I've told you what that is. It's not your mind. Now I, in that body, listening to these words, I am reflected intelligence. That means I'm not intelligence, but I am reflected intelligence. Right. And I am all you have there. That's all I have is I, but it's a reflected intelligence. And the mirror, which is inner space, and you've all demonstrated inner space to yourselves by thinking at breakfast time, by wondering. You wonder in inner space, you think in inner space, you interpret in inner space, you know in inner space. So I know in inner space. I think in inner space. And inner space is the mirror of intelligence. So I am reflected intelligence, talking about in that body. I am reflected intelligence, and inner space is the mirror of intelligence. Now, a mirror obviously is not the real thing. And reflected intelligence can't be the real thing either. What is real intelligence? Fair enough? We've only got the three things now. You don't complicate this with your mind. Your mind will try to complicate everything. Your mind works in grey areas. It loves grey areas. Yes and no, mix up, I believe, I don't believe, I want, I don't want, all that stuff. That's grey area. I've told you the three things that you have here, apart from your body. It all happens inside your body. I, the knower in that body, am reflected intelligence. Where I reflect inside that body is in the mirror of intelligence. And all my thoughts and emotions and feelings and what I think I know and what I don't think I know are all spots on the mirror. And I, being the reflection of intelligence and not real intelligence, keep focusing on these different spots on the mirror instead of the mirror itself, so that there would be, if I am nothing, I would look into the mirror and see nothing. But I look at the mirror and see these spots. My mother, my relationship with my mother, my relationship with my father, my ex-boyfriend, my girlfriend, when I was raped as a teenager, when I was raped as a child, when I was abused as a man, a young boy, the whole history of my emotional life, the whole history of my mental life is spots all over this mirror. Now, it is the nature of this reflected intelligence to look for something. I always look for something to focus on. And I am so used to focusing on ignorance in the world and in myself that I'm always looking for something to focus on, because I can't stand nothing, which is the pure mirror of my inner space. So I will find in that body, I will find that I am always trying to focus on some problem or opinion or belief or other. Is that true? Well, it has to be true because it's the truth. And it has to be true in your experience, because this is my self-knowledge speaking, and my self-knowledge is your self-knowledge. If only you know yourself sufficiently deeply, then my self-knowledge is your self-knowledge. But when I speak about your experience, your own experience, not your experience, the recorded lot, your own experience, that is my own experience. So in that we share common ground, common intelligent ground, as intelligent as you can get here in this external existence, which external means also inner space is also external. Because it's all about I, reflected intelligence. So I read the Bible, right? I read books, I look at the video, I look at the telly. I do everything. Is that true? And in I looking at all these things, I know and I remember. Is that true? Of course it's true. And you can endeavour to not say I, but you can't help saying I. You'll slip up and say I, because I am the knower of everything that I know. And everything that I know and have emotions of is in myself. So I am the intelligence of myself until I can stop reflecting on myself. Myself is all the dots and the rubbish all over the mirror. It's as grimy. The mirror is as grimy. It's like one of those cheap hotel mirrors that never get wiped. It's like that in most people. It's got spots on it, heavy spots, heavy stains. Where the deepest emotions are, I can't help but boom, I look at that. So I don't have any chance, because the whole of society is ignorance. Ignorance is ignorance of God, ignorance of the first and last, ignorance of that which is unnameable, ignorance of that. The whole of society is ignorant of that, and all the religions are ignorant of that, and all the Sufis going and spinning around there in a trance, which you can do any time. If you want to be a Sufi, you learn how to spin round and round, and you go into a trance, and you'll be able to come out and say, you've seen, whatever they call it, whatever the Buddha or someone called it, heaven or something else, whatever he said, nirvana or something. You can do that. You can go and be a Sufi. The only thing is, how's your love life? How's your real life down here in existence, Mr. Sufi? How is it down there? You masturbating too? You masturbating like all the other men do? You covering that up? And if you're not masturbating and you're really suppressing it, how about your mind? Because you can't suppress that. You can't ever get rid of that, because that is your nature. You are man, and you must sow your seed somewhere, even if you spill it on the earth. So you see what all the priests and everyone's getting away with. All the holy men. All the holy men, yeah. So holy they are, like the Pope, poor old Pope, doing his best up there with this heavy tale of lies and expediency and phony mythologizing and all that, and he's got to carry it around with him. And he's got to carry it on his shoulders. All these poor people who look to him for guidance, and he's got no guidance, because if he had any sense, he'd say, don't ask me. Because he doesn't know the truth. He's got to rest on a pillar of tradition, what Peter said, but no one knows what Peter said. Except Peter wasn't around when Jesus was on the cross. He vamoosed very fast. St. Peter vamoosed when the master was suffering. Wasn't me. Like Sarah's computer says, not my fault. It's not my fault. It's quite funny. Not my fault. No, I never saw him before. St. Peter, founder of the church. He's the one that built, apparently, churches out of stone and that. Found, on this rock will I establish my church. Bullshit. Jesus would never ever say it. The word church wouldn't have been in the language. It's a westernized invention. The only church was the Sermon on the Mount. And where was that? In a church? No, it was on a mountain, an ordinary God-made mountain where he spoke to the people, and they sat on the grass and he delivered. Where was the church in this? What rubbish, all mythologizing, all changed by priests so that we could build a Notre Dame and all the rest of those horrible buildings that everyone says, oh, how beautiful they are. Any rate. So, see, I keep looking into the mirror, the reflection of the intelligence, the reflected intelligence. I can see straight into the mirror. But when I look into the mirror, which has got no blocks on it, no, nothing, it's absolutely pure, I see nothing. And then I can see through the mirror. What about that? Eh? I can see through the mirror. It doesn't even reflect anything to me anymore. I see through it. And that's what I'm going to talk about now. I'm going to talk about pure intelligence. Neither the mirror of intelligence or reflected intelligence. I'm going to talk about the intelligence in your experience. And if you're not up to it, then just keep listening. And like our fax machine, if there's no one there really listening, but you keep yourself open like our fax does, when it's got no paper in it, and all the messages come through, faxes come through, and there's no paper in there, so the machine just records it all, you see. And when Sarah puts the paper in the machine, zing, 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 and off it goes, boom, 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 boom. Right. So that's how you are. If you've got to receive because you're listening, right? You've got to receive. But there mightn't be any paper in the machine just now. So don't worry, though. Don't worry, because it's all being done by the intelligence that's inside of you. It's recording. And when you need it, it'll come up and you'll say, you get a bit of paper in the machine. You get the message. Oh. It's the common thing is people tell me the penny dropped, 7 years later. I understand that. The penny dropped. But there's paper in the machine and you start to get the message. That's what he's saying. I see. After all this time, I see. So don't worry, just keep listening, please. Now, the butterfly. What about the butterfly, Barry? Well, first of all, have you seen the supreme beauty of the butterfly's wings? Now, I'm not asking you to say, oh, yeah, sure, I've seen it, let's have another drink. I'm not asking you that. I'm saying, have you seen the supreme beauty of the butterfly's wings? The extraordinary design features. And there's that butterfly. And here's another one, and you don't have to go to South America to see it. In your own home, in your own garden, in the spring or the summer, these extraordinary beauty and extraordinary designs. Now, the little robin, you people in Europe, I think you've got robins in Europe as well as in England, right? With the little, they call them red robins, but they haven't got a red breast at all. They all got orange breasts, haven't they? We have red-breasted robins out here. They've got real scarlet red breasts, but over there I used to see them get on the shovel, you're doing the... And they're on the fork that's over there, you're on the shovel, and they sit there waiting for the worms. Beautiful little things. Have you seen them, though? Have you seen the legs of these tiny little wrens in your country? Have you seen the legs? They're so thin, they're thinner than any straw. They're thinner than anything, and yet they contain an extraordinary capability of being able to land like a Boeing 747, and yet they're so light and they've got such flexibility, such design, magnificent design in them. And such beauty. I'm talking of beauty. You've only got to see the beauty of these legs. And you've seen beauty.